1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Checking if this thing is working out before I get the stream to start. I'm also going to be experimenting with some of the audio features. So hopefully the audio will come out through both of them. So feel free to ask any questions in the chat and I'll answer them as we go. Okay, let's get started. I'll start sharing the screen and then I'm going to start working through some of this. So what I'm doing is I'm working on this game. I've called it Spirit Strike, I think. I can't quite remember. But the idea is it's going to be like a helicopter attack game. Put that on mute so I don't hear feedback so I can explain what's going on. So yeah, so the sort of core idea of this game really is for me to go through and build out a kind of like so this is the some units that I've been building, some designing. So I've got a bunch of enemies. So I've got like a army helicopter. It's your very sort of standard sort of Desert Strike, Urban Strike inspired game. So I've already built a bunch of units, drawn them out. Some of them I've reused from older games. The idea is I want to do as much drawn as I can before I actually start and build the game. But if anybody really wants to see me start building the game and code straight away, then I'll do that. So if there's any uh, questions in the chat or anybody that wants to see it, then just let me know, and we'll make it happen. So that basically allows me to have all different sides covered, so I can have a fully grassy area. Just building out some mock designs how this might look like in game. So normally sprites should be like 64 by 64, 32 by 32. But I've decided that's not what I'm going to go with, just because to keep it simple I'm going with 100 by 100. So I've done the grass, all the grass sprites, and you can see like they have all of the boundaries. So the next is to do the same but for sand, so it has boundaries for water. So if I go desert, strike, I'll do it. So I'll have a look at see if there's any examples here where they have pictures of water meeting sand. If not, I can just guess, but I think it'll be something like where we'll have the blue water and then light water touching it. So we'll start with the top. So the trick is when you're doing, these are called tile sets, and when you make tile sets you need to make it so they're repeatable on each side. So if assume that's water, we'll have like a much lighter colour that interfaces to show it's shallow. So that's a little bit too on the nose. So here we just have like simple waves with a bit of like broken up. I like the broken up sand texture, so I could do that. So you just basically add holes in. Just make the opacity quite low on this, near the edges. That looks a bit more craggy. But I don't think the colour difference here is too high. It's a game I like, for an example here. Let's go back there. We've got a much deeper blue colour with some bright bits there, which is fine. I'll make more of a gradient though, so I'll go and take the middle ground. I like that. Yeah, that's a bit better. The trick is obviously you want the, not obviously, but you want the tile sets to be animated. So it looks much better when you're playing it like the water waves actually move. This is kind of like the brine of the water, that looks not too bad from a distance. Yeah, so anything, you know, basically I'll keep an eye on the chats and then I'll reply to whatever comes in on the chat. I'll share this link on Twitter, on LinkedIn as well. Don't really like that thumbnail, to be honest. I'll just share it, delete it later. So the trick with tile sets when you're joining them, you can do basically whatever you want, but as long as the end axis joins up. So the sort of my approach to doing the sand is like it's going to be a lot more sophisticated later on, but to begin with, you want just something that you can use. That's an interesting pattern. I like it though. So yeah, I mean, designing out this water pattern's is definitely gonna be tricky, because it can interface at so many different corners. Let's go look for more water design. That's a cool one. Again, it's interesting how they get that repeating pattern. Let's try an opacity trick. So that's too bright. What I'm going to do is take it a bit smaller. Okay, I think I've got the pattern. You basically do zigzags, I'm guessing, and then join. Yeah, it looks pretty good from a distance. Difference here is those aren't so zigzaggy at the bottom, so I kind of lost the groove. But I think I've got it. It's kind of like a fractal pattern, but messy. Right, let's have a look at that, see how that goes in. See how this guy deals with it here. Oh, he goes right up to the line. Interesting. I can worry about that later. Hey Mitchell, thanks for the chat. Yeah, appreciate you watching, dude. What question do you have? Apologies, there's a bit of a delay, so it might take me time to get back to your question. Obviously, we can't have tanks and water. That would be silly. Oh, that's a good question. So, the hype of ChatGPT versus its actual significance. So, let me think about that first. See if Martin's jumping on. Okay, so let me think. Yeah, no, it's a good question. So, is is ChatGPT actually as good as it's made out to be in the press? Well, I mean, if we quickly jump into ChatGPT and just give you some examples, right? So, there is one issue with the UK version. They're really stingy on bandwidth and sessions, so you get locked out a lot. They clamp it down. Okay, so if I said, like, for example, build, write me some Python code for a Flask app that lets people order a coffee, the code, or maybe even before I do that, instead of write me some Python code, maybe just go for give me the high level requirements for building a coffee ordering app that will be deployed to the web and scaled on AWS. There will be a expected traffic will be around two users per week. What considerations should I take into account? So if we have a look at this, I'll wait for it to load up, see if Martin's coming along. I don't even think he's reading my message. So as this guy goes through it, you can see it's actually building out all of the requirements, right? So it's telling me all of the different steps that needs to be done in order to facilitate that. You design a user experience, functionality, design the things. So this is all really from like if I was a project manager and I wanted to ask my team to deliver this and I didn't have much technical ability, this would be a great starter for 10, right? So like design a user experience, yeah, UX guys, functionality, obviously this is a huge part for the back end guys. Integrations with payments gateway, yeah, that's really big important thing. If you're ordering coffee online, you need an ability to pay for your coffee. Persistence of memory, security, scalability. So like, I've been in sort of banking, payments, and tech for at least a decade now, and looking at that, I would say that's a very good first stab, right? If I was to write that down, probably take me like half an hour to think out all of the points. So that's quite good. So then I could say, right, okay, give me an example. Write some example Flask code for the back end. Allow users to log in. So you can see, like, already it's understanding that you need to do some persistence. There's a login manager, you get the ID. What will be really interesting if there's anything in the code that relates to the coffee app. Now, that reason why I say that is because this is the second follow-up question that I've asked it. So what we want to see is how well it stores conversational persistence. Like, does it just generalize the answer, or does it integrate a really tailored solution for what you've got, like specifically for our case for coffee and things, you know? I mean, this so far is looking pretty good. So it didn't show the specific persistence to the initial question. Like it wasn't like decorated in a nice way that I would say like coffee or whatever. But this is what I would expect for boilerplate code. You've got your login roots. You've got they've made so what they've done is they've decided not to use like a DB. But what I can do now, so they're just using a local dictionary, right, which will obviously be supplemented for a database. Now what I can do is I can say, okay, refactor this code to use a SQLite database. Even spell it wrong, and it's knowing what I'm doing. So I guess, from a high level, like you can see it's really good, right? Like as a developer, this is saving me so much time. It's very well structured and well commented code. There is a lot of talk about it giving what's called like red herrings, like sometimes it's getting things wrong, but those things that are it gets wrong would be the thing that you would say a junior to maybe a mid-level developer might get wrong. So the way I would like label this would be as if it's almost like you've got a team of 3 developers under you, so you can focus on imagination, product design, creation. You can be more creative, and this is massively helpful in terms of productivity. So I had like a business related question roughly here, and then specific low level, and then a low level refactor. So I would say in terms of hype, oh, Martin's here. Hey Martin. So what I'm talking about, Martin, just now is this question about how good is ChatGPT. And so what I've done so far is I asked it a question to produce me an app for a coffee ordering app, and it gave me all of the deliverables, like this is what a project manager would want. And then I've asked for low level code implementation, and it's done that. So really, to sort of, I guess, to answer your question, Mitchell, I would say like, yeah, the hype is totally justified. What the issue is there's how can I frame this? The issue is more it when Google first came about, people were kind of like mind blown. There was a lot of scaremongering saying, Google's going to destroy the academic industry. People are going to cheat because they're just going to Google the answers. And in some cases, that's actually happened, right? When I first went to uni, the case was like the lectures had to change because they couldn't just put up questions from the year before. Because if they put the prior year's questions, then people would just be like posting them, and then the following year somebody would do a search and it would be in a Stack Overflow somewhere. So that's clearly not like, what's the word I'm looking for, like it wasn't sustainable to not change. And I kind of see like ChatGPT as being in exactly the same way. Like it's not gonna all of a sudden like make everybody unemployed, but what it will do is it will massively increase productivity, right? Like people who are more passionate can get a lot further a lot quicker, right? So I mean, for example, um, be careful of YouTube, Twitch. Yeah, I know. I don't know. Be careful, YouTube, Twitch. Hate it when both of them was on stream. Didn't get banned. Oh, really? I think I'm allowed to stream at both at the same time. Am I not, Martin? Good point. So yeah, I mean, so Mitchell, really, to answer your question, I would say like think of it as like Google on steroids, right? Like it's really gonna help you, but don't trust the answer. Like I can look at the code that it's given me, and I can know, like for example, when I looked at this, like just because I know Python, I know Flask, I know all the different things, I could look at that and go, where's maybe the earlier one, I could go like, this doesn't feel like the database is all there. And so that's why I asked it the question. In the previous example, I saw, I didn't see any databases being imported. I kind of felt like, okay, that's really too simple. So that's why I asked it to refactor it, which is done, and it's given me, it's even changed. Not only is it added in the database, but it's added in, the initialization of the database. It's updated even the loading of the users and things. So it's really, really smart that way. It's far more than just a smart Google. It's a smart Google with context. So I could then continue my question and say like, give me write some example Terraform to deploy this to AWS. The Terraform is like a scripting language which lets you deploy software. So like if I build a game, right, like I need to get it to the App Store. In the App Store, they'll have software to deploy my game, so it's online and on cloud. So you can think of it as a similar thing. And so here it's given me all of the Terraform, right? Or maybe terms of conditions. It's like the plagiarism program they used at uni. Will they know it was written by a bot? Yeah, it's a really good question. Like, yeah, so they won't know it's written by a bot because it's not written by a bot. So I'll answer your one first, Martin, and I'll go to Mitchell's. Like, what this does is it generalizes what humans have done. So like GPT-3 has taken, I think it's like 80 billion, 80 billion gigabytes or terabytes. I think it's yeah, it might just, I think it's 80 billion gigabytes, right? It's like huge. Yeah, it's nearly, I think it's more than petabytes at least, right? So the way it works is so many people have written like answers to questions, exam, like homework, reports, official code reviews and things. There's so much that even things that do not answer the specific question, there's another question that's been like it. And what GPT-3 does is it doesn't just find the exact example like Google would do. What it does is it generalizes by looking at lots and lots and lots of similar examples, right? So for example, you can see here, this is where it's not generalized, right? An AMI is like, you can think of it as like the address of a virtual computer, and this is somebody's actual AMI, right? So it's not generalized that well. I mean, I know well enough to just delete that and put my one in, but in some cases you'll find it's like put in keys, or it's like got somebody's name in. The same is with if I go to Discord and if I go and do to Artbreeder, I'll get the same thing, right? So in Artbreeder, I think like Midjourney, if I ask it to draw me a painting, of somebody with a name tag, it sometimes includes the actual the name of, I don't know if I've got any examples here, but I think in some of my earlier ones that I was asking it to do, it like included like signatures and names of like the artist, but it was like scribbles you couldn't quite see because it never copies directly. It kind of like merge copies, if you want to think of it that way. So for example here, like you can see that right in here isn't really clear because again, it's not a single individual person it's copying. You can think of it like it copies a million people and merges their answers. So it's, to detect that is totally doable. Like I could write a program to detect if it was written by this, but the way I would write it, it would be is what would the answer look like if it was just a big mix of many people. So I think that's the way I would sort of say. And then to this one, don't know what's yeah. So like, makes sense. Reminds me of AlphaZero in chess. Yeah. So it beat me. Yeah. So context. Yeah, that's what's so interesting. I wonder how creative it can be. Like, yeah, to write. So it can be really creative, but there's a very good thing that I told another colleague who's picking this tool up. The way, like, if you're really, really, really intelligent, or like you're really, really, really dumb, GPT-3 is gonna be really bad for you, because what it actually does is it gives the answer that 95% of the population would be happy with, but not the answer that 5% of those, your Einsteins and your your really dumb people, like, it won't give the answers that will suit them. So if you're like in the bell curve, like if I say like the normal distribution curve, right? Like, of people, and I just put of intelligence, right? Or something like that, right? If you're like anywhere here, right? Your IQ is anywhere in this big bubble here, right? You're going to get answers that you're going to be very, very happy with, right? Like, if you're going to, any question that you've got under any topic, you're going to get something that's really close to what you're looking for. But if you're like, I would say probably about 125 and above, or about 80 and below, the answers that you'll be expecting will totally not synchronize. They won't even be close to what this will give you. So, for example, if you, the caveat is, additionally, is hyper experience. So you can be on this right side if you're not super intelligent, but you're like 20 years experienced in your field, because then you can ask a really, really, really deep niche question, and it will give you an answer that will seem like an answer from somebody with only 5 or 6 years experience. So the way I would describe GPT-3, ChatGPT-3, it's like having somebody in your company. It doesn't need to be a coder, it could be a musician, it could be an artist, but they've got about 5 years of experience. That's the best way I could generalize what that is. So yeah, so I think like ChatGPT is amazing, but standard deviation strike, yeah, yeah, I know, man. Yeah, it just keeps coming, right? And it's just such a good way to contextualize what's going on here, because again, it's this is just stuff that developers like write every single day, right? And so if I ask it for something different, so if I could say like give me some business ideas for an AI startup, right? Like, nothing here is going to be surprising, okay? So, predictive maintenance, right? So this, so like, this isn't surprising, but it's quite good. Personalized customer service. Again, NLP, customer service, fraud detection, supply chain optimization. This is literally textbook. But this is textbook if I had asked somebody who'd been working in my company 5 years to just go and produce me a report on. Like, they would just Google this and then they tailor it a bit. So it's almost like the GPT is, if it was a person, it's like somebody who's not so deep in the company that they're going to give me like really nice, unique answers, but they're going to be like proficient. Yeah. So like, these answers are things like, almost, you could almost say textbook to the point of being nowhere near excellent, right? Like, it's not a sign of excellence. The reason why people get excited is because they're not hyper specialists, right? As a hyper specialist, I'm excited for a different reason, right? But for those who are not 15 years into a trade, this is going to seem like really, really smart, like really smart. Um, what would I say, like high level answers, but in fact they're just very competent answers. Again, something I'd expect from someone with 5 years experience, but somebody like me who's been in industry for a lot longer, I would expect like this. For me, this is a great start. I would start building out from here. Like, I would like take this guy and I would say, okay, give me some deeper examples of predictive maintenance, right? And then watch it kind of dig in deeper, and then I would like be pulling, and I would be like critiquing these answers. Now, I have seen in the area of like theoretical physics and things, you could go really deep, or like medical, you can like keep going deeper and deeper into like different dimensions of like post patient care, efficacy of drugs, and you can get into really deep argument with it, and it will give some good points, but it's not cutting edge, high expert level knowledge. It's just high competency level knowledge is what I would kind of put it at, which is great. This is amazing if you're new to a field, or even midway in your field, right? So that's what I'm saying. It caters to 95% of the people, except the 5% who are super intelligent, or super experienced, or super low IQ, right? Because then they have completely different. But for the lower IQ end of the spectrum, you could tailor this a little bit, which is what I've kind of been working on with another project. I'll show you. So I want to address that. The beginning 5%. So I think I've got a couple. I don't know which one it is. So this is what would plug in with GPT-3. I've already built out some of the code and got GPT to help me out with some of the code. And so what you would want to do to facilitate for like people with lower level IQ is, I would say, like, explain this to me as if I am 6 years old, right? And it's just going to go away and do that. It's just going to break it all down, because again, it's just running through heuristics. So it is going to simplify it. Sometimes it doesn't understand everything, but it'll try its best. It's using a toy car example, right? Which is a classic. So yeah, that's really like how I would generalize what GPT-3 is. So I would say, like, it's not the holy grail, but it's close. It's definitely, like, this is the most exciting thing, I would say, in tech for 10 years for me. Personally, it's far more exciting than crypto, or when iPhone 7 came out. And I think there's like a really good breakdown of that. So, like, let's see if I can find it. Just keep an eye on my Facebook to make sure that nobody's... I have no idea what you're censored. Right, okay. I've always wondered why... Okay, I have no idea what that comment is, Alan, but I'll try to... Oh, okay, it's a different one. It's fine. So, let me think. How... Yeah, so anyway, I'll round this bit up. So the idea of this easy e-reader was to simplify the language from GPT, and to allow people to browse the internet and to use applications by having a bunch of tools which will further help people. Not like, if you think of, like, you've got accessibility tools for like the blind and the deaf and things, this would be like accessibility tools for people on the lower end of the IQ spectrum, right? Which I think is really important, because they're like massively underserved customer base, community base. So yeah, they definitely need a bit of like support. Okay, so yeah, that's kind of ChatGPT. I would say, like, it's a game changer. I would say, like, that was what I was going to show. So if I show ChatGPT user base first 5 weeks, there's a really good meme. See if I can find it. Yeah, here we go. So this is a really amazing thing. So this is the time it took the biggest companies to get 1 million users. So Netflix took 40 weeks, Twitter took 25, Facebook took 10 weeks, Instagram took about... I don't think that's true. I think Instagram took 5 weeks. Basically, ChatGPT did it within the first week, right? Which is just bananas. So this really hits home just how big this is. People are comparing this to like the innovation of like blockchain, and the first release of the iPhone 7, of the iPhone, or cryptocurrency, right? Or even the innovation of the internet. I wouldn't go as far and say it's as big as the innovation of the internet, but I would say it's definitely one of the biggest things since then, from a tech point of view, right? It's on a par with smartphones. even if it's not ChatGPT itself, even if this technology dies, there'll still be it uses what's called large language models. Large language models will still be the one to beat. So I think that's kind of how I would put it. Um, I would say like it's not gonna change people's lives overnight, but it might change some people who are really dedicated, and long term it's going to be a massive, like the amount of productivity people will get will be massively improved. So yeah, that's how I kind of see it. So right, okay, so we've got the water. I'm kind of happy with this effect. So these are like different units. I think now what I want to do is I want to have some kind of pier, like a concrete pier with metal railings, and then have a kind of like, so as it flies, there'll be like an island where we can attack, and it'll be radar installations that I want to take out. Yeah, no worries, Mitchell. Yeah, really, thanks for watching. Um, I think I'm probably going to wrap up soon, but I'm going to do one more. Let's get a look at like, I don't know, like tile tile set, concrete pier maybe. Okay, no. Game tile set, tile sheet. I'll say pier. So in this game example, I'll go back to, I really like this guy's example. So one of the things in game dev, right, like, or sort of pixel art and art in general, and in writing, like it's there is no such thing as plagiarism when it comes to like style, like tile sets and things. They've all been done to death. This guy will have copied somebody who copied somebody. You know, for example, this is a game that's out last year, but you'll find an exact similar tile set if I go command and conquer one tile set. You know, this is a much better one. Like this one's like far better. But I don't like the color scheme. I want a more brighter color scheme. I mean, this stuff's been done to death. What I want to do is I want to go something like this, which has a very feel of like the NES Master System, and I like this pier, but I don't like. Actually, to be honest, I don't like this pier. It's too simple. But I want to copy something like that general idea. It reminds me of Command and Conquer Free. So we'll Command and Conquer Free, red alert, free, and I'll be like, I forget the name of it. It was like Fortress. Yeah, I think it's this guy. The Unfathomable Fortress. Let's go and have a look at it. That's it there. That's kind of what I'm thinking of. So this is quite beautiful. I'm going to go and take this as inspiration. So I like this. You've got nice light concrete slabs. Then on the inner you've got like paved slabs. So this is like the Japanese empire. It's more, they've got a bit of like Japanese style to it, even in the concrete. And the idea is that you're the Soviets and the Allies, and you both are striking to take down this massive. It's like an alternate reality where, like, the Japanese Imperial Empire has attacked both the Soviets and the Allies, and they're like, to begin with, they have like an overwhelming advantage. So anyway, I like this tile set, so I'm going to go with something like that, a bit more solid as well. So let's try and do that just now. So 100 by 100 again. Let's go for the basic slab first. So let's have a look at the colours of this guy. It's like much more bluish there for that overtone. And I think in the other game set it was a bit more whiter. So let's go for tile set concrete. Problem is Google, being a really crappy language model, doesn't realise that I mean in a game tile set. Okay, this isn't bad. Like that one. That's not bad either. Let's go for... try and find a colour theme that looks good. This is very popular these days, like people using these like 1, 2, 3, it's like hexagons to show their tile sets. It's quite cool. I'm basically trying to find a colour that I think would contrast quite nice. These colours are too light with low alpha. This too dark with high opacity. This looks okay, but a bit too generic. But maybe I can make it work. Yeah, that looks okay. Maybe I can make these colours work. I think this is a good starter for 10. Okay, so let me just look back at... did I not save that? So let's have a look in the mocks. What, you know, if I made like just a... I don't know why it's doing that with the highlighting. Too dark. Better. I think that's probably going to be more like the colour. It's weird, they look like two different colours, but it's just because of the distance separation. So what I'll do is I'll use a bit of alpha. I think closer to the colour I want. Yeah, that's the colour I want. So this will be the concrete. I wonder how I'm going to do the slabs. So in here they've got these nice square slabs. I could do that. Just do them as brick, maybe like brickwork. So how would I'll need one for the edge and then one for the inner. So I think for the edge I could do something like take that and sort of project kind of thick tiles like that. Check back at the chat, see if anybody's saying anything. So how are you getting on? Mitchell, Martin, how are you guys doing? Maybe like that? Just grinding for pennies. How did your works night out go, Martin? That looks too dark, that, I think. Do you have a good works night out? So obviously the trick here is how do you make them join? So really all you need to do is just make it join at one area and then you can flip it. So I will have this guy here. Oh, I saw the new avatar, by the way, if anybody's interested. I would say, like, if you liked the first one, then go check it out. But if you didn't like the first one, you might want to give it a miss because it is very similar. He ended up going to... What? They put you... I don't get that, man. At the end of the table. Were you like the only dude there? Yeah, to be honest, I think he did like I don't want to spoil for too many people, but it does show you in the trailer that he has kids. So and like one of them are like kind of mixed, and then there's like even contention on what those kids could be. So what I would say is like I personally enjoyed it. I thought it was really good, but I know there are people who don't like Avatar, right? So they're not gonna like the second one. I thought the first one was to be for me from like a movie, like a filmography point of view. It's definitely one of the biggest films of all time, which I think it was the highest grossing box office film as well. If I go Avatar movie, movie earnings. So the Avatar movie won. Yeah, so that is that the new one, but that's October. Yeah, so I mean it's one of the biggest movies of all time, but we don't know what the second one's going to do and how that's going to do. But the original, so we'll call this concrete concrete dot png. But the original, I think it's one of the highest like if I go highest grossing movies of all time, highest. Yeah, Avatar's still top, right? It's even ahead of Endgame. What's quite funny is I think they re-released Avatar in China to beat Endgame. So like Endgame was top, and then it got re-released in China, and they made like an extra like 500 million to overtake Endgame. To be honest, I think Avatar, in my mind, was way better than Endgame. It definitely deserves the top throne. Again, people say, but the movie wasn't anything new. It was like Pocahontas or something. this is true, but you have to take into account all of the things that came together, like to make the movie. So like the effects, the acting team, the production size, like the scale. Like there's a very interesting thing if you check out The Abyss. Right, it's a movie by Cameron. Right, James Cameron. He's always been obsessed with water. Right, so if I got James Cameron obsessed with water, right? Like the guy is absolutely obsessed with anything to do with sea. This is him in his deep sea vehicle. He is also the man to go the deepest that any other man has gone on Earth in water. So he's gone like to the lowest point of a trench, and this was. So this think of this. This was even before the Terminator. So if you the famous Terminator 2 prison scene, right? Like what most people remember from special effects point of view is this, right? Or we could just say like liquid metal, right? So like any one of these scenes were considered like way ahead of its day, special effects wise. But that was 1992. This was like 1987 production value wise. Now, why do I mention this and Avatar? Well, one, because Avatar 2 is all about water, right? Titanic, Abyss, the guy's obsessed with water-based life and things. However, in this movie, if I go the Abyss scandal, lots of people died. The Abyss movie scandal. So basically, there's a lot of controversy. I don't know if they've got it here. Reception, but basically, some people died. He spent like millions just trying to fill up a tub of water. Like it was like a massive controversy filming. Like to film this, they had to take like this. That's it there. They had to take this and they filled it all up with water, and they're like people that had died as a result on set. I mean, it's not happened before. It's happened before, in other films, but like there was so much like abuse of the staff, and there was a lot that went wrong in the production of this film. Um, but it's all down to like this guy's obsession. He is absolutely driven to make movies about aliens from underwater. Now, for me, I feel like I can resonate. I love the idea as well, but it should, don't have any misconceptions. Like 3, 4, and 5 will definitely have a big water theme as well. So for those who don't know, there is going to be an Avatar 3, 4, and 5. That's what's in the works. Yeah, Shy Organized. It's one of those films you don't remember any quotes. Yeah, to be honest, like I kind of found the Avatar, um, yeah, I really enjoyed it, but I totally understand there are lots of people who didn't, and I think that's totally fair. That's totally fine. But yeah, from a movie production point of view, it was great. But the guy learned a lot of lessons from the earlier days of, people being really, really badly injured and things. So let's go and see how this looks in the overall thing. So again, I should probably have the pier start about here since I've got my tanks here. I can move them along, I guess. Maybe move the tanks into, so they're like on the pier. And like this is maybe about here. And I'll move this bomber. It's called an Nguni because it looks like the African Nguni shield. So maybe put it here so it's coming over here. Okay, cool. So let's get in some concrete. Let's do the outlines first. I should probably do ones with steel girders as well. So like, like back to this picture here, like there's kind of like steel rails, I think, at some point. There's a lot more I could do. But for now, I'm just mocking up to get the tile sets ready to make the game. So let's see. Let's go for the bottom tiles. Ah, yeah, and I haven't considered the interface with the water yet either. So let's just stick these down here for now. And I'll work on the interface with the water as well for the next one. Aha, this is going to be a problem. Didn't think about that. Damn. Back to the drawing board. I could probably bring them in and make them, I don't know, like, how do I want to do this? Do I want to make it like, yeah, we don't want them to be too small. Or do we? Just thinking size-wise. Maybe have them like that. Nah. Okay guys, I think I'm gonna wrap up. Thanks for watching. I was just really me just to mess about, have some chats. I'll probably do another stream at some point, maybe tomorrow or just before Christmas. Guys, thanks for watching. Yeah, definitely check out more GPT Avatar. It's worth watching. I would give it a go. Um, you know, if you are looking for something to do, use GPT to improve your knowledge of the thing that you want to do. So if you want to learn game dev, start asking it questions. If you want to do, if you want to do, get into economics, making your own startup, definitely do that. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll catch up at another session. I really appreciate you tuning in. So